We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy. Walk in your purpose. What's good, y'all? We are unofficially 6 days away. Fingers crossed this vid goes up, or this recording goes up by the time of my editing and content flow, because Lord knows we have been a little behind. I still have quite a few recordings in the tuck, ready to hit the airwaves, and let's just call it what it is. Life do not care. And to layer that a little bit, life don't care, but people really don't care, because folks gonna need you when they need you. This is gonna be probably one of my more calm yet fluid walks, and there are a couple reasons behind that. The number one reason being that I am probably more aware of who I am and how I function. And for a lot of people, in a ill-mannered, nonchalant way, that could be seen as a problem. I've found, and it could be other reasons, but that's the number one and primary reason that I'm sitting behind. I have really paid very, very close attention to how things around me move, how people around me move. Just for lack of a better term, I've never not had a knack of being able to read the room, but lately my room reading is dangerous. Like, I don't even know how to describe it other than it's dangerous, and it's becoming more and more evident how observant I am of things. Just an update, because I've talked about it a little bit, but have not really given any quote-unquote journey updates. However, I'm still doing the 30 slow at a slow 30. Getting into that groove of not being as phone attached per se at certain times of the day is highly an adjustment. There have been, so my job currently has been doing these, what we call, and almost gotta love when something activates that you did not need to activate, and it was the
The young lady, those of you who know and done different recordings know exactly who I'm talking about. But uh, yeah, let's just say the activities and the actions of others. It's already been clear to me to begin with, but lately it's like, and one of my near and dear podcast colleagues said this best: hyper aware. I think lately I've probably been more in that hyper aware state than I've been in a long time. But I'm gonna take it up a step further. I have found that not everyone understands or gets the context or even the complexity of what I've called or what I consider to be a deep focus or a deep state, because we're in many cases we're trapped and caught up in shallow society. Brian, was shallow society, and where did you what 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 do you like? What context do you have of viewing something as shallow society? Well, look at it. I've probably been on lately. So my platform consumption of choice that has dominated more than anything is TikTok. But there's a mixed space with an application like TikTok, i.e., many times it's a not a time burner, but more of a I'm usually able to gather something worthwhile. I will say I've probably been pulled into, and this is me being real with y'all. I began to be pulled out of the prison, not even prison, but like people going to jail YouTube algorithm, being pulled out of that loop and being pulled into the productivity loop. I'm gonna start with a unique yet honest assessment that many of you may or may not even think of or consider. It is a proven fact that if you um, if you have things that you're working on through your day, you can only have one priority. But Mythbusters will battle that and say, "Oh no, you can have multiple priorities." And it's like you can, and it happens. Things around us program or create spaces where there could be more than one priority at a time, like at the same time. However, between those two, something's going to gain more priority. Case in point, many of you know that I worked in healthcare. At the facility where I worked, there was a big thing that would happen where, and this happened frequently, more than one trauma patient comes in. Mind you, let me give some context. I worked at a level 1 trauma center, and in this trauma center, you are bound to see anything and everything beyond the sun, right? So fast forward, here it is, a you may get a gunshot wound, you might get a car accident, and you might get a overdose. Someone that's you're trying to get state. No, I won't even say overdose. I'll say you have two people in a car accident and one that's a gunshot wound. All three of them, for lack of a better term, are priorities by far. But you got to be realistic and understanding, unless the option is available to do so, you cannot do all of these x-rays or scans at the same time. But educating non radiology employees on that, or heaven forbid I say it, educating doctors on that, tall order. I take you into this rabbit hole because as humans, we put things on our list. And we know we know what the main thing is. We dodge the main thing by doing some of the most mundane things or non-main things. And even to take it a step further, you will find yourself more inclined to look at it as, okay, this is my list for the day. This is what I have to work on. I'm going to work on these things, but these things are not going to work on me, I guess is where it goes. And sometimes, in the nicest way possible, it can cause or generate its own unique form of a burnout. And the reason why is because you're placing, by nature, you're placing added pressure on yourself. And we as people do it frequently and often unknowingly. We know that there are things we want to get done, there are things we have to get done, and there's ways we need to go about getting those things done. And something usually doesn't get completed. Going back to TikTok, a video came up that talked about creatives and people who create and how they're very temporary with creation. And I'm going to raise my hand to that because there's a Udemy course that I've talked about for weeks. I've had the course probably over a year, and I've ordered more courses since then to follow that course. But it's as small as it seems, clipping 2 hours in your day to do it challenges you from saying, or it puts you in the uncomfortable position of, I have to do this. Even though I don't want to do this, I have to do this. And a lot of times you're not doing the thing because you're thinking about other things or working on other things. And a lot of times that's happened with me where I think one day, matter of fact, keep it real with y'all. The day that I found out my dad passed, I remember coming home. I saw like packages of stuff that I'd ordered. I had a plan of, oh, I'm going to go in my room. I'm going to work on some design stuff. I'm going to check in on my friend. We're doing some newsletters with work. And I got hit with the news. So when that news hit, everything shifted. And that's been, what, we're at 4 weeks now? Everything shifted. And it's a lot of statements that I make, but this is going to be one of my real statements in this, especially in this recording. You really become inadvertently mind blown by how a shift and or transition happens over time, because there's not really going to be much of making it make sense type of thing. It's more of a accepting it for what it is and where it is, and just not, as hard as it is not to, not allowing it to overconsume your day to day. You're allowed to, and we're, as people, we have to allow things to consume us, because if we don't, we deflect, we become nonchalant, we can become stoic, we can become unbothered. But deep down, the feeling will still be the feeling. The thing will still be the thing. So I'm sharing those words of sentiment for this walk, as well as getting you all to understand. And this is also just me speaking real to y'all. If it ain't seem like I ain't put an audio recording out in a while, it ain't intentional. I promise you. There's, like, literally, life has been lifing on every level known to man. And I'll add this too, because it's key to think about. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, hopefully I can match these up and remember, but we are 6 days away from me turning 42. And thinking back on this phase, or this circle of 41, I can't speak for nobody else, but a lot of shit has happened. A lot of soul seeking, a lot of personal transparency, a lot of reflecting, a lot of personal guidance with good intent has happened. And the biggest takeaway, and I think more of my friends have been hearing me say it, and it's so ironic because I still have yet to read Cal Newport's book about slow productivity, is I'm not in a position to not say that shit don't gotta be done, or things shouldn't be handled. Not in that position. However, I'm also more aware of, be, by all means, be more mindful and slow down. I have had my fair share of people and friends and individuals and associates and colleagues and coworkers and folks that have interacted with me in some way, shape, or form come in and move or operate as the firecracker, the ball of chaos, the 100 miles an hour. So we're gonna do this, 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 and this. And I've had to find and build up the verbiage to tell them in the nicest, calmest way possible, we're not doing that. And the reason that I've had to respond with, we're not doing that, one, we're not doing that. And two, every single instance and every single time someone has done something to the extent where there was more push than deemed necessary, I've had to almost break them down and understanding this is why doing this is not a good idea at this speed or at this capacity. And you, as a human being, have to be aware of when to be in control of your instinct, right? So that means if you're interacting with someone and you know they're doing something in a bit of a dangerous spiral, if you ain't bopping with it, it's okay. There's such a misguided or misinterpreted idea that if you quote unquote go against the grain or quote unquote do your own thing, it's a problem. And I don't really see it as a problem. I see it more as it's actually a solution. You're preparing with a solution because a problem will come. And it's not all the time. A lot of times stuff got to be done, get it done, let's move on. But in many instances, some things that are given this whole massive push should not be given the push that it's given, but it is because someone in their right mind thought, hey, I think it'd be the best interest or a good idea to ramp it up a notch. And again, that's totally fine. But when you're doing this and it's involving, I think my biggest thing is when you do something of that magnitude and it affects other people. That's where my problem comes in. And I say other people, but then I also am selfish a little bit. When it affects me, I'm like, nah, hold on. Like let's stop. Like not even like let's slow down. No, let's stop. Like stop. Think. As I mentioned earlier, read the room. Read the fucking room. Uh, my boy, he and I have had this discussion lately, and it's become like a realistic thing of it gotta make sense. It's gotta make sense. Like if it ain't making sense, then I'm not I'm not signing into it. I'm not backing it, basically. And literally thinking of many of the interactions and or instances that I have had over the years, I'm learning more and more that you sometimes gotta have stuff be seen to others to not make sense for it to make sense to them. And it's a tall order. It is a very tall order because people will put it in your head, oh, I see no problems, I see no issues. And I'm like, yeah, we not moving the same. And that's okay. We're not supposed to move the same. It's a reason we are individuals. We all do things in a different way, in a different capacity, from a different perspective. And I'm gonna add this in to to be something to really look at. Everybody idea ain't your idea. I have become more observant of the idea flow with people and how possible it is to make something make sense. But I've had more of a keen eye to something that if it don't make, if it ain't worth putting the investment and the time behind it, then I'm just not. And I think even for people who are in my circle, in my life, for a lot of them, it's many of them, and I say a lot of people, but it's not really many because most folks get it. Most folks know I have a very simple feng shui, a very simple style and flow with a lot of things. And because it's so simple, some people don't know how to fit into that. Because some people like to come in as hurricanes or tsunamis or tornadoes. And it's not, they don't realize how unhealthy it is, but I'm watching from the sideline knowing, yo, this is unhealthy. This is not, this ain't it. Everybody's not gonna go where you going. Everybody ain't gonna see what you see. Everybody can't walk where your feet take you. That's why when they use that phrase, put yourself in my shoes, it ain't as A to Z as people think it is, because one, we might wear a different size shoe. That's the obvious, of course, but to add insult to injury, your two step might not be my two step. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think for a lot of people, the challenge is how to handle an individual's movement in the moment. Because in many of our lives, we look at it as, I'm on 10, everybody else got to be on 10. And it's like, no, we don't. No, we don't. And we as in me, no, I don't. I don't need to be put in this pull, put in this position of being pulled into a space or pulled into something that I don't have to do. I've somewhat forewarned, but didn't forewarn. This is a bit of a venting cast to some extent, but it's also an unplugging cast because I've, as as I talked about at the beginning, I've kind of gone away a little bit from the 30 slow or the slow 30. But the to get back on track with that, the how can I say it? The walks adding in nature has been different. Like I'm not like today. It's kind of a thing because I'm not listening to a podcast. I'm not playing music. I'm talking, and so it's putting me in a position of listening more. As an added incentive, I'm also learning, and this is a tech tip without being a tech tip. If you're doing any form or sort of walking, do not do like if you're out in public walking and you wear any noise canceling devices, turn off noise canceling just for that period. And the only reason I say that is because the thing that you're not wanting to pay attention to because you're paying attention to what you're paying attention to is cool to some extent, but the bigger concern or the bigger conflict becomes if you actually have something actively happen and you're in that space while it's happening. Um, you sometimes, and I think, like I'm saying it in that regard, but on a more layman's breakdown, you got to be more aware of your surroundings. And it's hard to do that if you're playing something at a maximum volume and you're putting in noise canceling. Now, if you're in a building, like when when I'm at work, podcasts and lo-fi are bae because they allow me an opportunity to unplug from the sidebars, the side conversations. Um, there was a image that I saw years ago, and it fit me to a T because it basically said, if I have no earbuds in, I'm available. I'm open to listening. I can talk. If I got one in, I'm listening, but I'm not listening because I'm focused on whatever it is that I'm playing. So it's important because literally whenever I wear headphones for the podcast whenever I wear my headset for work, even when I listen to music majority of the time, I'm always wearing one earbud and it's never the same. Most people think it's going to be the left. Most people think it's going to be the right. It fluctuates. Now, when I do walks like these, I'm going to put on both. Um, and I talked about this a little bit before. Like last Saturday when I did my 4 mile walk, it was me and nature. I had them in. I didn't put on noise canceling. It was me, nature, and my family. They were with me with that walk. Like every week they are, but I think these last few weeks it's almost like become a meeting of the minds in a sense. Um, but so yeah, that's one earbud. If I got two in, leave me the fuck alone. Because the worst thing you can do is if I got two in and I got noise canceling and you tap me on the shoulder, scared as all outdoors. So one of my coworkers, like, she sits near me, and a lot of times, like, I'll try to get her attention, but then I'm also semi-soft spoken, like in the office, like podcast Brian versus office Brian, two different people. And it ain't even just the coach, which is just more of like the professionalism type. It's the professionalism as well as just natural etiquette anyway. So if I'm in a room and I'm speaking or talk to someone, I'm not the most. I don't really have to be the loudest, and a lot of men don't understand that in general. You don't have to be the loudest. But yeah, two buds in. Send me a message or let me know something. Hey, I'm about to walk that way. Okay, sure, come on. I'll take one out. We can talk. It's fine. Uh, no social media after 6. I've been sticking with that pretty good. The hardest one that I've been battling with is tech rest on Saturdays and Sundays. And when I say tech rest, that means like no online content, no posting. It's tough to do strictly because I do my podcast on Saturdays, as well as um, I do. Um, I'm usually writing my blog either Friday or Saturday afternoon or something. Because this weekend it's gonna be a little tight, but we're gonna shake it up, make it be what it be, and do what we do. Because I have my newsletter. The upcoming newsletter is gonna be, of course, my first newsletter for September. I'm in limbo if I'm gonna try this, but I think I'm gonna try it. I want to do the September writing challenge. I don't I don't know. I may have to do a at home sit down with this one and kind of do like a deep dive, unpack type of thing, and seeing like, okay, do I wanna get the full rundown? Like I may do a video talking about that, but basically, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit now because hopefully, fingers crossed, if I'm good at content like I claim to be, I'll have this up before September. But each day for the month of September, you and you do this a multitude of ways. You want to use it as a online journal slash quick 5 to 10 minute writing session. You can, and it doesn't have to be online. It can be on paper, but it's just writing every day in September. I didn't have the bandwidth to do it, but I thought about it, and it's something definitely worth considering. I may bring back PETA again, which was podcast every day. It's going to either be in April and or August, and get those get those black get those back boiling and rumbling again because they were pretty fun. But yeah, the September writing challenge, I want to give that a go again, and I will probably use my September blog because I have a blog for the September writing challenge separate. 'Cause I think I have four WordPress pages that I manage. I manage the newsletter page, which has become, if it was not for me, shout out to, like, even though we ain't talked in a minute, shout out to Sophia because she literally threw the idea of going to that coffee shop. And ironically, going to that coffee shop led to me breaking the seal of writing and starting an impromptu yet enjoyable newsletter that's been going, I think, since December. I've been able to remain pretty active with it. Uh, there was another group that was made afterward that lasted for a bit, and then the owner, for good reason, decided to shut it down. And, they offered, it was like, hey, if you want to become an owner, and I was like, ah. So they showed me, so they broke down the prices and the number, and I was like, I'm cool. But I kind of I've done pretty good sticking with the every Sunday writing mechanism. Like I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think I've missed a Sunday of the weekly writing. But yeah, September writing. And ironically, on Notion, I have some writing prompts. So that helps out too. So I will be working on those for a bit. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to keep them public because I don't, other than just natural born journaling and bullet journaling, I really don't have anything that I'm in a hiding space of I don't want anyone to know about or I'm not open to sharing or addressing because it's just not that big of a deal personally. Um, I've learned to be more conscious of how I maneuver with different things. And why I say that is because you don't want to throw too much of you into too much. And I used to use this quote or say this message a lot to people because it's a valid statement when you break it down. It is better to give 100% to one thing than 10% to 10 things. Anyone that knows me knows with my notaries, anytime I come and do a notary, let's do this notary. When I'm doing my newsletter, I'm locked in on the newsletter. The podcast, heck, I used to have what was known as like podcast day. So like Saturdays, people knew, don't hit me up by 9 or 10 o'clock. I'm either preparing to do the podcast or I've done the podcast. And it's it's become a more enjoyable process doing it that way because I know how it works when I put that level of effort into those activities. Like podcasting, my newsletter, my design. When I'm designing, it's like head down, locked in. Let's make it shake. Because no offense, no one else No one else can do what I need done the way I need it done. And once you understand that and you're aware of that, it makes you see and move a whole lot different with something as simple as that form of activity. So as we finish the walk, really want people to take more time of finding that sweet spot of consuming content and consuming resources. Because sometimes content consumption, there really is a such thing as content consumption overload. And I've been very sporadic on how to talk about that, but it is something to think about and consider when it comes to these type of spaces. Um, so I just want to leave y'all with that, finishing up the walk and just knowing whether you're the creator of the content or you're the consumer of the content, but most importantly, to not be overpopulated by what you're doing, but also not ignoring the matter or task at hand. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I thank y'all for any little or large bit of support that's been sent this way. It's valued in ways you would not imagine. And we're gonna be back on it again, man. I'm like I said, I got about, I want to say it's at least 5 or 6 episodes just from Walkcast that I have not uploaded yet, and I've held them for like a minute because of time and life. But I think it's time. So I'm gonna get these up and cracking and popping. And also, I need to finish my timer. They probably think I'm still running or moving. My shirt has turned semi-dark red, so that's my cue to go ahead and crush this water. And that's also another thing. We talked about this with our so it's a group that I'm with, Spacetime Monotasking, Spacetime Productivity, the internet family. One of their key things that they emphasize, and I am a huge advocate of as well, drink water. And adding insult to injury, I don't blame them, but I appreciate them because they introduced me to the world of Stanley, which had been out for over 100 years. But now I literally do not go anywhere. Like, I'm almost the person, I've never done it yet, but I'm to the point where I'm open to being the guy that brings a Stanley to a bar. Now, granted, the Stanley is water. I will openly make it clear. Like, if I come somewhere, if I show up somewhere, like, hey, this is literally water. I didn't bring any outside beverage or anything. It's genuinely water for the sake of consumption. And sometimes you need that water to hell hydrate. Oh, this is dope. They got some folks getting ready to come through here. I'm still recording, but this is fire. It's like, oh yeah, morning walk crew. I like that. I'm gonna let y'all hear it for a minute. That's what's up. I like that. That is the highest profile slash level of accountability, and one of them even have their children with them. There we go. Come and people say this, and this is, I talked about the water thing, but I'm gonna say this too. I ain't sitting here saying that you gotta have folks that can do triathlons, what is it, marathons, 10Ks, 8K, 5. Get you some folks. They ain't gotta do none of that. If they can at least get up and go out and move, get those people and value those people. Like, story time without being story time. I think had to have been, it's been a month and a half now. One of my friends, her mom was on the podcast a while back, her and I went and walked. And she was like, hey, let's, we're going to do the walk. I said, yeah. That day came. It was a Sunday. And it was like it was like 5:30. And I'm like, get up. I'm not doing it. I got up, threw clothes on, went ahead and packed up because my personal routine with the walks are, I'm going to take my jug of, like my big jug of Gatorade. My Gatorade jug with water, sorry. I'm going to have a towel and I'm going to have my extra shirt, and I'm going to bring my Crocs. It's a requirement. Those things are non-negotiable when it comes to me doing the walk. And so I did the walk, we walked around. I think this one was like it was 3.5. I think it was 3.5 miles. And I mean, we, walked the city, got to catch up with our life, talk about a lot of things, threw a couple runs in there here and there. And she was like, is it all right if we go a little fast? I said, yeah, no, we good. Like I'm good. And I think the thing that's so crazy, even up until now, is like, I don't have a perfect posture. I'm not going to sit there and finagle myself into thinking such. However, I'm able to be more comfortable in sitting, standing, mobility, things of that nature now than ever before because of just movement. And like seeing those group of people walk by was like, okay, you got folks that can come together and just like get out and go walk and go move. It's not about something you got to get out here and, like I said, you don't need to get up and run 5 miles. You just need to get up and move. Like I think we have the art of movement. Never mind, I'm about to get some stuff away. I'm gonna wrap this up because if I don't, I'll get into a whole nother tangent. And it's some notes that I need to jot down because if I don't jot them down, they're gone. And that's the other message to share. And I trust, as much as I love notes and I love writing and sharing and maintaining notes, pen and paper, get a notebook, get a little pocket notebook, field notes, Moleskine. Y'all hear me talk about them a lot. Get one and get you a nice little inexpensive pen. I don't have my other one with me. I got one that I keep on my keychain for my keys, but I need to get one that I keep if I'm carrying. I may just have that one be the mobile pen, but it's literally the best thing ever to have a pen and paper because sometimes an idea or thought comes up, and if you don't write it down, it's gone. Like I had a thought of something that I said earlier on TikTok, and I'm like, I need to make sure I write that down because I want to get content moving and get things shared where I can because we're in a time now where that's the thing. It's the thing without being the thing, but you got to be aware of the thing before the thing gets too big. There we go. All right, y'all. I'm going this time. See y'all later. Peace.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. And also the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.